Hello friends, it's Alina, and in this video we'll dive into the 5 things you need to know about this December 2021 full moon, also known as a snow moon or ice moon in the Aries sign of Gemini. We'll talk about what exactly a snow or ice moon is, why this Gemini moon is particularly optimal for forming connections and seeking insight. We'll talk about the transits surrounding this full moon, and as always, at the end, I'll offer some customized journal prompts. And before we dive in, if you haven't already heard, the Auralign Astrology Planners for 2022 are now available for pre-order. If you've been on the site and it looked like it was sold out, we're still sold out of the rose and black planners, not oat. And so if you're interested, be sure to grab yours while they're still available. If you don't already know, the Auralign Astrology Planners are astrology planners. They offer all the major astrological events for 2022, along with dedicated full and new moon ritual pages, writing prompts for the season, seasonal food guides, wellness guides, and a lot more. Be sure to check out the link on the screen or in the description to learn more. But with all of that said, let's dive in. First things first, why is this full moon so important? As many of you know, the full moon is seen as a cosmic spotlight, this peak energetic midway point through the lunar cycle, illuminating what has and hasn't been working for us. This is one of the many reasons why you see people doing full moon rituals, where they sit down, get present, and write out what they would like to energetically release, moving forward into the second half of the lunar cycle for the rest of the season, the month, or year. If you're the type of person who's not super into New Year's resolutions or putting too much pressure on yourself at the end of the year, this full moon can be a great time for reflecting on the past year in a more chill way without that added pressure. As the moon is seen to generally rule over our emotions and intuitive abilities, full moons are seen as a time that more heavily impacts our emotions, fertility, and relationships. Now, December's full moon is referred to as a snow moon or cold moon as it refers to the season in which it falls in, that being the end of fall, beginning of winter, when it is incredibly cold outside. Most of the names that you might hear for different moons have usually been coined by indigenous communities and farmers who were more connected with nature and the seasons during the point of any given full moon. As well, this full moon is falling in the sign of Gemini, this air sign that's represented by the twins, where we see one twin representing a mortal person and the other representing an immortal person. This definitely signifies the themes that we can see around Gemini season and the themes around any given planet when it falls within the zodiac. And so we see the moon, which impacts our relational, our emotional, and our intuitive lives. Being in the sign of Gemini, we're definitely going to be seeing themes of striking a balance between our spiritual and more logical selves, our inner worlds and our outer worlds. And with Gemini being a sign that's within the element of air, it definitely represents how mutable somebody who's Gemini can be. I personally am Gemini, and I consider myself to be a chameleon in many ways. I find myself to be able to easily change how I am in different environments and be more adaptable to change. Gemini also brings in themes of communication, being logical, intellectual, and just enjoying information exchange. So with this full moon being this peak energetic point where, generally speaking, people feel more energized to be out and about and connect, along with it being in the sign of Gemini, along with many other transits that we'll dive into, including Jupiter coming to play, now can be a very optimal time for getting out and socializing and finding new insights and perspectives through the people we surround ourselves with. Next, what transits impact this full moon? On the night of the full moon, we will see it trining with Jupiter, the planet of good luck, expansion, and optimism. Now, a trine aspect in astrology indicates energetic acceptance and support between the two astral bodies involved. So we see the moon in Gemini impacting our communication, thinking, trining, having this energetic support and acceptance with Jupiter, this planet of good luck, fortune, and expansion. We will definitely see a lot of supportive energy within the realms of socialization, asking for help, and information exchange. In astrology, this is definitely seen as a transit that can offer opportunities when it comes to learning new things, growth, and finding the answers that we seek. And speaking on this topic, I feel really called to remind y'all of the benefits of being a part of community, whether that's chosen community, family, loved ones, and what that looks like from the perspective of holistic health. Oftentimes when it comes to health, especially in the Western world, we look at it as you go to the doctor, you eat right, and you move. But holistic health looks at the many different facets, nuances, and interconnectedness of all the aspects of our lives and how that could impact our health. So specifically when it comes to community health, that looks like being around people and environments where we feel supported and we feel excited to support one another. Especially during the winter time, as the winter solstice happens on the 21st, where we have these colder months, especially if you live in parts of the world where you might, feel more closed off, seasonal affect disorder, maybe there's more snow or it's more cold outside, less welcoming to be out and about. Finding community, even if it's virtual, can play a massive role in our moods and feeling like we are seen and supported. And so especially during this time with this Gemini full moon trining with Jupiter, these placements definitely are supportive when it comes to finding our communities and connecting with one another. Next, we see Venus, the planet of love and relationships, forming a conjunction with Pluto, the planet of transformation, rebirth, and new cycles. Now, a conjunction aspect in astrology indicates a blending or uniting of the energies between the astral bodies involved. So when we see a conjunction between Venus and Pluto, we usually see a time that can be very conducive for seeking deeper emotional and relationship connections. This can definitely manifest if you're single as a deeper longing for that connection. This time can sometimes be hard for us if we're seeking connection, whether it's romantic or platonic, and we're having a hard time doing so. And that's one of the reasons why I really encourage finding community online, especially if you're feeling like something might be missing. It could be that community aspect. And if you are in a committed relationship, this can look like diving deeper within it, getting more clear on where one another are at in our perspectives, whether it's within the relationship or our worldviews, learning from one another. And whether you are or are not in a relationship, finding deep understanding and insight through the connections we form during this time. And finally, a day after the full moon, we see Venus going retrograde. As previously mentioned, Venus can impact our relationships, financial life, and romance. When in retrograde, it can be important to treat any issues within these realms as important lessons to learn from rather than just brushing off. Venus retrogrades is also an important time to be more conscious of spending habits. Venus retrogrades can often bring about very unique encounters that can lead to karmic relationships. But with Venus's conjunction with Pluto, it can definitely bring about more relationship issues or crises along with financial issues. So it will be very important to bring in awareness, presentness when it comes to our communication and when it comes to our financial, interactions. And lastly, we are moving into the winter season with the winter solstice happening December 21st. Let me know if y'all want me to do a bigger video talking about it, because I would take up maybe too much time here, but there is so much to say about us moving into this new phase. I started this, video series talking about the moon phases because my catalyst to astrology and understanding how all of these cycles and phases and gravitational pulls can impact us started with seasonal living. And there are different ways in Ayurvedic medicine, which is a traditional Indian medicine, traditional Chinese medicine. So many different traditional modalities understood the importance of living in alignment, switching up our holistic health habits with the switching and shifting of seasons to find balance, so I would love to dive deeper into that. If you're interested in it, comment below. There's also the US having its Pluto return in 2022. I could talk about that. I also want to do a full video kind of having to do with resolutions, manifesting for the year ahead. I love the idea of doing a journaling video where we really do powerful reflective journaling prompts to better reflect on, process, and kind of close the book on 2021, and then do journaling prompts or exercises to really help visualize the next year ahead. So I don't know, comment down ideas for videos like that or what you want to see, because I'm really excited to expand the type of videos I do, just expand it beyond just these moon videos. How should we expect to feel? We will likely feel or notice other people feeling called to get out and socialize. Not only are we getting deeper into this holiday season where the year is wrapping up, we are prioritizing our personal lives more than our work lives, but with this full moon being this midway point energetically in the lunar cycle, this is the peak energetic time where people also naturally feel more called to be out and about. Just like we see the moon can impact the tides, raise the water, so can it raise our emotions and intuitive abilities. So we can also expect to notice maybe our senses being more heightened, noticing our own sensitivity when it comes to the people around us being heightened. So these are a lot of different things and themes that we normally see during any given full moon, but with the added aspect of it being in Gemini, this air sign that is all about being social, about communication, information exchange, being intellectual about different ideas in the world. Now can be a great time, as mentioned before. I feel like the overarching theme is seeking insight, information, and being open to new ideas through socialization, through human connection, through information exchange. I just really feel called to remind y'all but let y'all know that if you have been looking for an answer to something, a solution to something, it could be one question away from being answered. It could be one DM away from being answered. I actually have a post-it that I keep on my laptop that in so many words basically says that. Like anything that you don't understand how to do, that you feel like is this whole hubbub of a mountain of something to do, could be resolved or figured out through one DM, just asking one question and being open to the idea that it can be resolved in that way. Sometimes it can't be, but many times it can. We are community-based organisms, and for a lot of the problems that we have in this world, a lot of them can be solved immediately because there are people who have come before us, who have gone through what we are now going through. And that sense of community is so powerful if we are open to leaning into it. Ways to align with this energy. It can also be important during this time to hold space for what comes up emotionally or intuitively. Oftentimes, just to get by, just to get through the day, through work, through so many things, we can push down intuitive messages, observations that we notice that might not be conducive to the capitalistic workflow of things and so on. And when these things come up, it can be very helpful to process them, even if that's silently through journaling, talk therapy, opening up to friends, or just allowing ourselves to be bored, to sit around and process ideas. Now can be a great time to not just brush what comes up off, but really hold space for it and see how it can be a catalyst for growth or better understanding of your current situation. I hope that made sense. And finally, let's dive into these full moon writing prompts. If you have your Auralign planner handy, this is actually the 2022 one. If you have your 2021 planner ready, turn to your full moon journaling area so you can write all of this down. But if you don't have it, you don't need it. All you'll need will be a pen and paper. What I'll do is I will put up the questions on the screen. Once you see them, I invite you to pause the video, write them out, and when you're done, we'll come back. Is there anything you're ready to release during this full moon? Where do you draw the line, if at all, between your spiritual self and your more logical or socially acceptable self? How do you find intimate or mentally stimulating connections outside of a romantic relationship? When do you feel most creative? All right, y'all. I hope you enjoyed those writing prompts. And if it sparked any insights for you, ideas, or if anything from the astrology reading has already shown up for you, I invite you to comment it down below to start some conversation. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and answer some of these writing prompts to hopefully spark some conversation and just to catch up with y'all. Okay, so before I even answer any of these questions, I just want to say thank y'all for your patience with me uploading. I wasn't able to upload a new moon video for the previous new moon because I have just been experiencing a lot of work, but also I feel like energetically the eclipse just really kind of threw off my energy, and I felt so called to just relax and just not do that much. And I really appreciate y'all holding space for that. Also, I want to give y'all an update when it comes to Auralign shipping stuff. Oh my goodness. I'm just gonna speak really candidly with y'all about that. So basically, back in the summer, I hired a fulfillment company to basically receive all of my inventory and ship it out themselves. Long story short, that fell through. And so I had to go pick up all of my thousands of inventory items and basically fulfill everything myself, package everything myself within the last week. So all of the pre-orders that were created from October 14th to now, I've been fulfilling myself or with family members who came to help me. It's been literally one of the most stressful weeks I've experienced of this year. I just really appreciate y'all being patient with me. My camera died, but I just want to give y'all that update. As of this video recording, if you saw that it was sold out, I actually purposely made everything on the website look like it was sold out just to stop orders from coming in so I could fulfill the ones that were already there. And I wanted to give y'all that update because I know that y'all have been waiting, and I greatly appreciate, even if everything went perfectly, I already want to say thank you for being patient enough to pre-order it, right? So anyway, yeah, that's that on that. So to answer the first question, one thing that I'm ready to let go of during this full moon is this fear that I've had for so long of asking for help. What I do online as a creative, as a holistic nutritionist, as an astrologer, doing all of these things, I am definitely a multifaceted person. And as I've gotten older, I've definitely leaned into that and accepted that aspect of myself. But being in that process has meant that I have learned brand new things all the time, which I enjoy doing, but to a certain extent. And so when it comes to being in these different industries, like for example, creating a planner line and understanding how to ship it out in mass and finding fulfillment, finding people to help me run social media things, that way I can stay, be doing what I love, which is creating videos, sharing information that I feel passionate about. That has been hard for me because I've made it hard. I've been so afraid of asking, and I really want to set that new phase in my life in motion of expansion, of being open to asking for help. Speaking of which, I'm gonna go ahead and ask right now, depending on who's watching, if you or someone you know knows of or is a fulfiller, preferably located in Southern California, or runs social media, is like a social media manager, can help with that type of thing, please email me, because I am very interested on a professional business level of working with you or anybody who does that. That's something that I am working through for this full moon. I'm really excited to, during this full moon, have a break, you know what I mean, after all of this, and really get centered and present, set my intentions, and just let it go. You know what I mean? Just let it go. So for the second question, when it comes to drawing the line between my spiritual self and my more logical self, my answer to that on a personal level is that I have no problem turning on and off my astrology crystal, spirituality loving self when I'm around different people. And I think an aspect of that for me that makes it easy for me to turn it on and off, or almost like code switch. If you're Black, you know what I mean, more than likely, is because one, I'm a Gemini. So I have many Gemini placements in my natal charts. And so I find it very easy to kind of mold myself and be malleable and mutable, a mutable sign, in different environments, wherever I need to be to feel comfortable, but also as a sense of self-preservation. So for some people, I feel like we can shapeshift almost in different environments because we want to make other people feel more comfortable. Also, as a Black girl, I already walk into different spaces where we talked about this in the last video, I think for the full moon, having to do with projections and shadow work. I deal with a lot of people projecting, these ideas of, is she Black enough? Is she, or not Black enough, but is she, you know what I mean? Not feeling Black enough, feeling like I'm the only Black person in the room, and feeling like I'm being perceived as whatever other people have been brainwashed to perceive Black people as, rather than taking me for an individual soul having a human experience. And because I've experienced that being a Black woman in the US, on like just a human level or a social level. And then on a spiritual level, having this intuitive feeling, this intuitive spirituality, this intuitive calling towards nutrition, herbalism, astrology, living in alignment with nature, and knowing that in the Western society, there's a lot of stigma around that. I've found it easier to kind of switch myself up. But I know that for many, it can be hard and can feel frustrating, especially around the holidays. You know, I could talk so much about this, but the reason why I keep talking is because I know I'm not alone. And I hope that if you're listening to this and if any of it resonates, I just hope that it makes you feel less alone, because I feel like that's a very interesting topic to discuss. Like, all right, y'all, if you made it to the end of this video, I invite you to comment 3 thought bubble emojis, because it's Gemini. We're having a Gemini full moon. It's all about socialization, new ideas, being fluid, mutable, like the air sign of Gemini. Or if you don't feel like commenting that, maybe comment if anything came up for you. Have you been sensing or experiencing any of these themes that the full moon might bring up for you? Maybe you might have experienced the opposite. Did any of the journal prompts or things that I personally shared resonate with you? Have you gotten your planner? Oh my gosh, I'm just so like excited about that. Like, even if you don't buy it, just from like a community perspective, we've been talking about the full moon for so long. So it's kind of cool to like, for y'all to finally hold in your hands what I've been kind of like working on behind the scenes, while then coming over and talking to you about the current full moon, like all summer. It's just like, it feels so cool. It feels like my friends who I've been like talking to about astrology finally get to hold like my piece of art or like piece of work that's relative to that. And y'all get me and I get you. Like, anyway. And with all of that said, I will leave you with my favorite quote. And that is, let's take a breath together. Be gentle with yourself, because life is about the journey, not the destination. Okay? Peace, friends. Bye.